and this is for Dr. Habermas. Dr. Habermas, in order to give Dr. Flew some evidence for a biblical worldview, can you give a scientific or philosophical argument for the existence of the Old Testament God?
Okay, let me try to do both. I think there's two parts here. Is this a theistic universe, and is Jesus who we claim to be in that universe? This isn't a debate on God's existence, but if I were to identify the arguments that I like the best, probably my favorite arguments right now are the scientific complexity arguments that are sometimes indicated or identified as scientific theological arguments. I'm impressed with arguments from the complexity of life, people like Behe, Hoyle, and McRamesing, people like that, an enzyme. Also some of the cosmological arguments for God's existence. In particular, I think the Kalam argument has some promising things to say. If God exists, you want to know that he's the God of the Bible, and I think if there's one such being, and I think that's part of the philosophical argument, if he has the characteristics the same as in Scripture, then they're the same being. But I think you can continue to follow this right down the line. In the Old Testament, I think we're told that the Messiah is going to be divine. That's a tough one. But Isaiah 9:6 calls him God. Micah 5:2 says his goings forth have been from everlasting. Daniel 7:13 and 14 might be my favorite, because we're told about the Son of Man. He's come on the clouds, and he's not God because he's there with the Ancient of Days in Daniel 7. So I would argue that the resurrection ties Jesus in with the Old Testament hope and with the God of the universe to have precisely this line that Tony's talking about. And I agree with him. It's got to be a whole picture, not snippets here and there.
Tony, what do you think?
I've been insisting on the difference between the rational approach for someone who does not believe in the Mosaic deity and someone who does. And I'm relatively happy with the idea that people who believe in the Mosaic deity think that the resurrection occurred and so on.
Let me ask you a question. In the debate with Craig, I listened to that, and you said something about the Big Bang. Craig was arguing that scientists seem to say there was a start, and so philosophically he was saying there's a starter. Now, you didn't seem to like that. Tell me how you got out of that one.
Well, it would seem to me that the if the physicists can go no further than the Big Bang, this is not any sort of positive reason for believing in a creator. It's a reason for saying it is beyond the capacity of human beings to discover what, if anything, produced the Big Bang. This is where investigation has to stop. This is all we can find out.
Well, Tony's a friend of mine, but it seems to me that when the going gets tough, Tony opts for no evidence. We just don't have enough.
Yes.
If science says there's a Big Bang, and everything that begins to exist has a beginner, I don't see how the universe is an exception. We get to the resurrection, and he agrees with the facts, bails out a little bit on hallucination, and says, but I'm not here to, we don't have enough evidence. But we do, because we're debating about facts we both believe. Near-death experiences, here's a tough case. And I'm just saying that at every point we get a little too close. It seems to be, I think the tables turned on naturalists in recent years. For a few decades, I think the tables turned against them. And I'm not used to naturalists of great repute saying things like, I'll opt out of the conversation at this point because I can't go any further. And I'm saying they can't go any further because that's the state of the evidence, and we must decide on the evidence in front of us.